Hi everyone, my name is Jen and this is B-Sounds of Plants, where we talk about things houseplant and home design. Welcome back. Today's video is going to be 5 plant related things that I cannot live without. If you watch my videos at all, the stuff on this list should be absolutely no surprise to you because I talk about them all the frickin' time, and that's exactly how they've earned a place on this list. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so the very first thing on this list should be no surprise to anyone because I won't shut up about it. Clear nursery pots. Oh my god, these are a freaking game changer and I talk about them in like every video. So why I love clear nursery pots. First, this is the only type of pot that you can see the roots in. Look at that. So you can absolutely monitor your root growth and you can tell when it needs a repot or not. So these probably could use a repot pretty soon before winter hits. I don't know, we'll see. And second, because I am a chronic overwater, this is so much easier for me to tell when my soil has dried all the way through. When the soil is no longer clinging to the outside of the pot, that's when I water all of my plants. A lot of people who are chronic overwaters like I am, they really were like terracotta pots, but I don't. I just genuinely don't like the texture of terracotta pots. Like I don't know, I don't like the way they feel. But also, first I'm nosy, so with terracotta pots you can't really see like the roots and the root development. Second, sometimes when you're trying to repot a plant that's been in terracotta, the roots will have like basically glued itself to the side of the terracotta, so then you're really like hurting some of the roots when you try to yank it out. Third, I feel like with terracotta a lot of times I'll see like mold or excess minerals build up on the outside of the pot, so they really have to be scrubbed down quite often. So I just prefer plastic nursery pots. I really like the combo of a plastic nursery pot plus a pretty cache pot on the outside. That's just what I like, and because pretty much I would say 99% of my collection is in, you know, plastic pots and then a cache pot on the outside. It makes watering them so much easier because they're more or less on the same schedule now. You have some plants in terracotta, some plants in plastic, some plants in this kind, some plants in that kind. I feel like you spend much more time trying to decide when a plant is dry or not, versus I've now kind of repotted enough of my plant in the collection where everything is pretty much synced up, so I spend less time worrying about when I need to water. I do have a couple of plants in terracotta, don't get me wrong, but those are special case circumstances where like I keep rotting those plants from overwatering, so we have transitioned those to terracotta, but those are like very few and far between. So I would highly recommend you get some clear nursery pots. These 6-inch ones are my favorite. I do have a kind that's like 4.5 inch, which are these. I don't like them as much because these are made for orchids, and so with all the holes on the side, although that's great for oxygen flow, sometimes I end up with roots that just grow outside and stick out, so then I have to kind of like repot them or figure out how to stick the roots back in. So those aren't my favorite. I really prefer the 6-inch ones with only holes at the bottom. Okay, so number 2 on this list, kind of on the same vein because I prefer plastic nursery pots. What I use to catch all the water are these plastic drip trays. So I get both of these from Lowe's. This is a 4-inch one, this is a 6-inch one. These are so inexpensive. I think the 6-inch one is like maybe 60 cents or 70 cents or something like that, and then these 4-inch ones are like 30 cents, I think. So they're very, very inexpensive. They're actually quite durable. So I've never had to replace one after I've been using it for a while. So sometimes I'll just put directly a nursery pot into one of these, especially some of the plants on the windowsill. That's what I do. But other times I'll actually put one of these inside of maybe a pretty decorative pot that has a hole at the bottom. Okay, so an example of that is like, for example, this pot. So this is made out of bamboo rattan. So obviously there's a lot of holes, including holes at the bottom. This is not a waterproof, you know, pot. So what I do is I literally will take one of these plastic drip trays and I'll just line it in at the bottom like that. I have some paper in there currently, just to lift the plant up a little bit so that it's nice and even. But look at that. So now this is a waterproof container that I can put my plants in. So those are highly recommend must-haves on my list. Every time I go to Lowe's, I'll just pick up like 3 or 4 of them because they come in so handy everywhere. Okay, number 3 on my list. I feel like this is kind of a lame pick, but like I really can't live without those. This is Orchid Bark. So this specific kind of Orchid Bark is made out of fir. So this is fir bark. And this is like my favorite thing ever. This is how I don't overwater my plants. This is what makes my soil mix so nice and chunky. I know a lot of people really love perlite. I just don't like perlite. I feel like when you water a soil mix that has perlite in it, it oftentimes will end up rising to the top over time. So instead of perlite, I use pumice, but I don't love pumice. I love Orchid Bark though. But this is also because the majority of my collection are aroids. So including, you know, like syngoniums, those are aroids, philodendrons, those are aroids. I mean, they grow up trees. This is a tree that's been chopped up. So this material is really good for the plant roots to grab onto. It's really natural for them and they grow really well that way. I like to get the biggest chunks possible to make my soil mixture extremely airy, so it allows for a lot of oxygen to get to the roots. Though also one of the reasons that I love Orchid Bark so much is because I use coco coir instead of potting soil. So coco coir is made out of the outside of a coconut. It's like a coconut fiber, and coco coir is extremely water retentive, which means it holds on to a lot of water. It holds on to more water than traditional potting soil would, which means that I really need to offset how much other mediums and how much other like amendments I put into my soil mixture to balance out how water retentive coco coir is. So yeah, I feel like this is kind of a lame, like, I don't know, like a lame addition to this list. But I feel like when I was first starting out, I was using potting soil and perlite, and I lost a lot of plants that way. It doesn't work for how I water. It doesn't really work for the plants I like. So Orchid Bark. If you're using a soil mixture right now, it doesn't have Orchid Bark in it, like you have to try this. You can find it at your local nursery. Most local nurseries will have it. I'll link an alternative to an Orchid Bark that I found on Amazon down in the description below as well, but you really gotta try some of this stuff. It's amazing. Okay, number 4 on this list. So the very first pest that I ever had in my house is fungus gnats. So these are yellow sticky traps that are meant to catch adult fungus gnats. So basically the ones that, you know, are flying and hitting your face everywhere. I feel like they're the most common pest that most people will get, and these will catch all the adult ones, so all the ones that are already flying. So this is just a sticky piece of paper. It has like a protective film, so when you're ready to use it, you just peel the protective film off of both sides, so then it's just like a sticky sheet. Has a hole so that you can tie it to things. So I used to have one of these in my greenhouse. I also used to have one in one of the bedrooms. I had a huge fungus gnat issue when I was first starting out, and I'm like 90% sure it came from a bag of Miracle-Gro soil. For other reasons, but also for this reason, I despise Miracle-Gro soil. I know it works for a lot of people, it doesn't work for me. Despise that shit. So these yellow sticky traps are really effective at catching all of the adult flying ones, and it's the PEST kind of like solution that feels the most effective against fungus gnats the quickest. You can see exactly how many fungus gnats you're catching on the sheet, and it gets rid of the most annoying part of fungus gnats immediately. So because they only work on adult fungus gnats, it doesn't get rid of the ones that are burrowed in your soil. You have to use other pest measures for that. So I personally use mosquito bits. You could shake some mosquito bits on the top of your soil, or you could steep it overnight in some water and then use that water to water your plants. Either way. But I feel like the most like the best solution against fungus gnats is a preventative solution, is that you just have to change the way that you're watering so that your water dries out much quicker. That's also why Orchid Bark is great, because it, you know, if you put Orchid Bark on top, that's kind of like the layer that fungus gnats will lay eggs in, so it's harder for them to, you know, you're not creating as a hospitable environment for the fungus gnats to lay eggs in. You can also use diatomaceous earth, which I've never used before, but this is like, if you already have fungus gnats flying in your face, this is the best solution for those adult fungus gnats. It's kind of satisfying, kind of gross, but like really cool to see just how many fungus gnats they catch in one day. So if you have a fungus gnat issue, I highly recommend these yellow sticky traps. Okay, so the very last item on this list is Super Thrive. So Super Thrive is the one thing that I bought very early on in my plant parenthood journey that I still love, still use all the time, and this is the exact same bottle. I bought this probably a year ago, and I probably still have like a quarter of it left, so a little bit goes a long way. If you don't know what Super Thrive is a plant vitamin that was specifically designed to help your roots. So the kind of like ideal case scenario of how when you use Super Thrive is right after repotting a plant, so it helps with transplant shock. But I also often will use it for propagations, and sometimes if I think just a plant needs a little bit of a boost, I will also use a drop of Super Thrive the next time I water my plants. There are instructions on the back on how you can properly dilute this. But I feel like a lot of people ask me when they're transplanting their plant from soil to LECA why it seems like I never have any issues and they're experiencing some issues. I really credit it to this Super Thrive because I use a lot of this stuff. The other thing is I'm also very aggressive with my plants when it comes to taking the soil off the roots before transplanting to LECA. If you're ever getting root rot in LECA, it's probably because you didn't get enough soil off in the beginning, because you know you don't get root rot from water, you get root rot from the soil that holds on to the water, and how it like suffocates the roots. So highly recommend using a lot of Super Thrive to help with transplant shock, and also making sure you get all of your soil off your roots before transferring your plants into LECA. Also, this is really good for propagating, so if you're water propagating, you can also add a drop of Super Thrive to your water vessel, and it'll help promote root growth much quicker. There are a lot of videos on YouTube you can watch about Super Thrive, and I feel like I've never seen a negative one about Super Thrive because it is that good. So if you've never tried this stuff, I highly recommend. You can buy it on Amazon, that's where I bought this one, but you can also buy it from like Lowe's or Home Depot or your local nursery. They'll most likely have it too. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. If you watch my videos, I'm sure none of the things on this list were surprising, but I think it's worth reiterating for the newcomers. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!